What's going on YouTube? This is IPSec. I'm doing Certified from HackTheBox, which is an assumed breach box, meaning we start out with a set of credentials. And you probably could guess, based upon the name of this box, it will involve Active Directory Certificate Services, aka ADCS. So we start out by running Certipy and identifying the non-default users that can enroll certificates, which is a great place to start thinking about an attack chain. A lot of people that run Certipy will just do the -vulnerable flag to see what certificate templates are vulnerable to the user they're running it as. But if you leave that flag out, you can identify all the users that can roll things. And looking at non-default is a great way to identify high value targets, which helps when you go into Bloodhound and map everything, because you can take our user, put the high value target in, and find a path to them, and then eventually exploit the certificate template, which is vulnerable to ESC9, which is an attack that requires writing a UPN to be administrator, requesting a certificate, then changing the UPN back. And for some reason, that allows a certificate we generated to impersonate the default domain admin. And as a bonus, at the end of the video, we'll look into writing Cypher queries, which helps greatly build paths to non-default things. So with that being said, let's jump in. As always, we start off with an nmap, so -sc for default scripts, sv enumerate versions, -vv for double verbose. This gives us things like the TTL, OA output all formats, put in the nmap directory and call it certified, and then the IP address of 10.10.11.41. This can take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the results, we have 11 ports open, and the first one I see is DNS on port 53, and it's got this banner of Simple DNS Plus, which is the default for Windows Active Directory. So I know I'm dealing with an Active Directory server. We have DNS, Kerberos, some RPC ports, LDAP, and it's leaking the domain name, which we have certified.hdb, and the certificate also shows us the host name of the box, which is DC01. And we see it looks like we have a time difference of 19 hours between the machine and us. So if we want to do any Kerberos stuff, we probably need to fix that time difference, but that may come up later. So let's add the host name to a host file. So we'll do a sudo v etc host 10.10.11.41 DC01. Let's do the machine name as well, and then just the domain name. So there we go. We have all three names this box could potentially be in our host file. And what's really sticking out is there's no web server on port 80. We just kind of have standard Active Directory services. Looking here, there's SMB as well. More standard Active Directory services. That's LDAP again. More LDAP and more certificate stuff from LDAP, and that is it. So it is telling us there is a clock skew difference, but that's all we have to go on. Now, this is a assumed breach scenario, which means HackTheBox did give us credentials. So looking at it, we have the first set is Judith Mayer and Judith 09. So what I probably do first is just run netexec to make sure these credentials are good, right? So we'll do netexec smb 10.10.11.41, username and password of Judith 09. Just make sure we can authenticate. And then we could do like -- shares, list all the shares to see if there's any like file shares we need to pillage. And looking at it, come on, let's finish. Everything's default. We don't have read to anything sensitive. I guess we could go and like pillage sysvol, which may have some group policy stuff, but that's generally not where I start because it takes a very long time to manually go through all those files, right? And normally it's not that beneficial. I think users will allow us to dump every user on the box. Let's see this flag real quick. There we go. So we're just seeing the usernames. We have administrator, Judith, management, SVC, CA operator, Alexander, Harry, and Gregory. So those are all the users we have on the box. We could go and run Bloodhound as well, which we will do in a little bit, but I'm not going to start there. I'm going to start with Certipy because the name of the box is certified. So I'm guessing it's ADCS type vulnerability because that's Active Directory certificate services, right? So let's start with that. I'm going to do a Certipy, and then we'll do find, specify the DC IP of 10.10.11.41. Let's show vulnerable templates of the user. What was it? Judith Mader, and the password. I forget what that was. Judith 09, and I'll go to standard out. So looking at this, it's going to get the certificate authority configuration. And since we have it, we know there is a ADCS service. It's printing out the certificate authorities. We don't see anything for templates. So there's no vulnerable templates for a user. Now, I also will run it without the dash vulnerable and just look at all the templates because there's still good information to find, right? Just because this user doesn't have the ability to exploit any templates doesn't mean there's not the ability for other users. And we can kind of find out by just listing them all and then quickly going over it, right? Normally for like ADCS vulnerabilities, it's going to involve this enrollment rights. And we can see domain admin, domain user, enterprise admin. If we go through all these, there are 33 templates, so that is a lot. We'd find some that have the non-default of just like domain admin and enterprise admin. If we keep going up, maybe we'll find it. That's 12. I think it's near the top. We'll show kind of a better way to go about this. Let's see. Enrollment rights. So here's the templates. Let's see. Right here, the first template. What is the name of this? The certified authentication template allows operator CA to enroll. So that's a non-default thing. So when I go to Bloodhound, I would probably be looking for like Judith Mayer as owned, and I'd put this operator CA as a high value target and find paths to the operator CA. But if we want to do a better way to format this, if we did -H, we can look at other output options. And oddly enough, both of these are broken on the community edition of Bloodhound. Long ago, Bloodhound made a breaking change in legacy, so that's why there's old Bloodhound and regular Bloodhound. But this is legacy, and this is like older than legacy. Certipy itself, I don't think has been updated in 2 years, like 2023, I think is the last time it's been updated or something. So it doesn't support community edition. So we can't just output it at Bloodhound format, upload it, and do everything in Cypher queries. But we can do it in JSON, and that will help us do some filtering. And it's going to be a bit of a pain to write the JQ query, but it is something I enjoy doing for just testing things because we can do a lot of really good filters with JQ. So I'm just going to copy this and we're going to do it in filter.sh, I guess. And I'm doing it this way because I want it to span multiple lines and I think it'd be easier for you to read. But if I'm just typing this out myself, I'd probably just do it as a one-liner, right? So we're going to do this JQ query. If I run filter, we see everything. So what I want to do is drill all the way down to the enrollment rights. So we have to go into certificate templates. So let's do this real quick. So do dot, I think we can do it like this. Certificate templates. And from here, we go into a list. Let me close this off, save, we'll run it again. And I want to kind of flatten this. So we just have a list of items because I don't want to have to make my search like know to go into all these keys. So you see right here, we're going in like too deep. I'm going to put a 2 entries. So we'll do 2 entries like this. Save that. That did not work. Let's see, we do certificate template. Oh, I think my VI added a single quote for me. There we go. So now you see it's just 1 deep, right? It put the key like this. So that just makes it a little bit easier for us to search. So I'm going to now do I want to drill down into every item and then look at the enrollment rights and then look for things that have something other than domain admins or enterprise admins. And what I'm actually going to do is just filter out anything that has the word domain or enterprise. But if I was on an actual like engagement, I'd probably be a lot more granular in this and do a filters for like domain admins, enterprise admins, and go through a bunch of groups I don't care about. So we'll do a select all. So this is going to mean both of these things have to be true. And then what do we go through? We want to do value. And then after value, we go into permissions. then enrollment permissions. And I'm using quotes there because there is a space. So do enrollment rights now. And that is a list. So now we'll do a semicolon, and we're going to use our filter words. So we're going to test for the word domain, and we're going to say case insensitive, so we'll do an I, or test enterprise, and case insensitive as an I. Close out that, and then we're going to pipe it and say not, because now we're in this select. So we did all here, and we're saying go down in enrollment rights, look for the word domain and enterprise, and then take those out, and then show me what's left, right? So that's kind of what I'm trying to convey here. And we'll see if we got it right. Syntax error, unexpected token. We did not get it right, because I think that quote goes on this side of that. It does. Awesome. So there we go. We have key 0. And the first one is, let's see, operator CA. So right off the bat, we see the vulnerable certificate. And then going down, key 3 has another one. And this certificate is RAS and IAS server. I think this is like provisioning services, I think. I don't know exactly. I think it's like remote, maybe I'm thinking remote deployment service. Remote access server, I think is what RAS is. If we look here, the reason why this one's showing up is because we took these two out, but we didn't filter for this group. So this group still exists, right? We could say, we could go back up to the filter if we wanted to and say test RAS, I guess. I like that. We need, or there we go. And we only have that one key now because we filtered out that group. So hopefully this little JQ filtering kind of makes sense. It's something I do. It's not needed. You can solve the box without this, but now we know there's a high value target of, what was it? Operator CA, I think, right? What is that target? We want to get to operator CA. So I'm just going to go to my credentials and high value this. Okay. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and run Bloodhound. So we'll do, I have Bloodhound and opt. I think that's legacy, opt Bloodhound, ingesters, Bloodhound.py. And I'm on the Bloodhound Community Edition branch. So let's do a Python 3, Bloodhound.py, the domain, certified.htb, the user, Judith Mater, that's the one we started out with, and her password. Was it Judith09? Yeah, Judith09, like that. And then collect everything, name server of 10, 10, 11, 41. And we got a Kerberos error, so we fall back to NTLM because the time sync, which we saw during nmap. But it looks like we're getting everything. We found 10 users, 53 groups, 2 GPOs. So while that queries, let's go ahead. Oh, it's done. So we have everything here. I should have put this in my thing. So we'll do HTB. Where is it? Certified. There we go. Let's go back to that directory. And then let's go opt Bloodhound server. And we'll do docker compose up-d. And if you use my parrot install playbook, I've changed it so Bloodhound starts on port 8088. The default is port 8080. And I'll also save the default Bloodhound credentials to a file. I forget exactly where. But I think it's just in probably the op Bloodhound directory. It's starting the graph.db, but we can start going over to it. Localhost 8088, admin, and I set my password to please subscribe 1 exclamation point. I hope. Yes, I am in. Awesome. So let's go ahead and upload all the files. So let's go to administration, upload files, and first let's turn dark mode on. And we'll go to HTTP certified, and then upload all these JSON files. And it looks like this file may be, oh, this is from my Certipy command. Of course, that doesn't work because we just outputted a JSON format, not the Bloodhound. But that makes sense. So now we're ingesting things. It'll probably take 2 to 3 minutes. So I'm going to pause the video and we're going to resume when it's done. Okay, now that our ingestion is done, we can go over to Explore and look at things. So the first thing I would do, and this is going to assume I didn't have any knowledge of where I want to go, I would just search for Judith Mayer, like the user we have, definitely mark them as owned, and then just click around this outbound object control and see what they can do. So we can see Judith Mayer has WriteOwner over management. We look at management, go to outbound control again, see what they have unique things to. Management has write over this user, this management service user. So we can probably own them. And then we go again, outbound control, and we see GenericAll over CA operator. And we see the display name is operator CA, which is the user we saw in the Certipy command, right? And if I was on Legacy Bloodhound, there's an issue right now with the Bloodhound Python ingester on Community Edition. It's not showing the PSRemote flag. I think this user can PSRemote or this user can PSRemote. We go back to management user. Let's see, member of. I would also look at like what they're a member of. Management service, a member of remote management. So this user can PSRemote around the domain. But that is just going manually. And if you have a large domain, this can be very time consuming to find and prone to missing things, right? But we knew we wanted to get over to what was the user, right? Let's go cat creds, that's where I put it. We want to go over this operator CA user because that was the one that had a vulnerable certificate, or they at least could enroll in a certificate and they were non-default. So I'm going to say, show me paths between Judith and CA operator, and Bloodhound is really nice and just plants this all out for you, right? We see Judith, WriteOwner over management, GenericWrite over the group, which has GenericAll over this. So this is what we're going to be exploiting now, right? So let's start out. We're going to take ownership over this. And because we take ownership over it, that means we can then add users. So we can add ourselves to this group, which then because we're a member of the group, we can then go over and write on top of this user, which then allows us to create a shadow credential and get their password, or at least the NTLM hash of the password, which is just as good for us. And then we have GenericAll over this, which allows us to do the same exact thing. So let's go and do that whole step. So let's go and first, I guess we should say what we're doing. So let's go up here. I'm going to use owneredit, which is part of Impacket. And then we can say the action of write new owner. I'm going to say is Judith Mater on the target. Is it just management? Yep, the target is management. And then we want to give our credentials. So certified Judith Mater, password of Judith09. And I'm going to put DCIP at the start of this, 10.10.11.41. And before I run that, let's go and I'll do a netrpc group. Later, we're going to use this netrpc group to add a member, but I just want to show the users in this real quick. So do netrpc group, and then members management, and then the user like this. Is that how we authenticate? It may be a %. We'll see if this works. Server 10, 10, 11, 41. I think we go like that. Net RPC group members, management. Then maybe a dash capital U. That's it. So we see there's only one member, management service. So I'm going to run this in packet script. And we see the owner SID has been modified successfully. It was domain admins, right? This is what it was. And now we changed it back over to us. We run it. We still see it's just management service because we took ownership. We didn't add ourselves to this group yet. We can run this again. And now it's going to say what the CN was. So it was Judith Mater. So that's how we know we have changed the owner. So the next thing we want to do is give ourselves the right to add a user to this, because if we just try to add ourselves to this, it's not going to work right away. So we'll do net RPC group, and then it's, I think add mem, and then management, Judith Mater, like that. Access denied. Even though we own the group, we still don't have access. We can use dacledit. We'll just change this. dacledit, specify the DC, action write, and we don't want this. So we'll say dash writes. We're going to give ourselves the write members write. And then the principal we want to give it to is Judith Mater. The target is management. And I think if you just did dash H, it shows all the options, right? So you don't have to have everything memorized. You can do writes, and it tells you the rights right here: full control, reset password, write members, DC sync. So we could give ourselves full control if we wanted to. So management, and then what else? We got to do the user. So certified, Judith Mater, Judith 09, name server 10, 10, 11, 41. I should put name server at the front. Is it DCIP? I don't think I need to. I think that's it. Yep, there we go. So now we gave ourselves the ability to add users. So here we're listing, still just have management service. Now we're going to run add member. There's the command that we got access denied before. And there we go. We suddenly added a member. So now we do list members, and we have two. We have Judith and management. So now that we've done the dacledit, we are right here, and we're going to do take advantage of GenericWrite over this management service. And you should be able to, Bloodhound has a way of telling you how to abuse all this stuff as well. So we could click on the thing and then do Linux abuse and go that way, right? So let's see. Let's use Certipy, shadow, auto, target, certified HTTP, DCIP 10, 10, 11, 41, username, Judith Mater at certified.htb, password, Judith 09, and then the account we want to take over is management_service. Or not take over, but create the shadow credential. So this is adding a certificate to that user that lets us authenticate as them, and then we're going to grab the TGT, which allows us to get the NTLM hash of that user. And then we can just use that to authenticate. Oh, clock skew. So this is using Kerberos, and since our time is too far out of sync, it fails. So I'll do a sudo ntp date, log to syslog. I think we just specify the IP, 1141. I think that worked. So let's run this again, and hopefully we don't get the clock skew error. So getting TGT, this takes a little bit. So we added the key credentials so we can authenticate as them. Come on, give me the TGT. There we go. And then we restore the old thing. So like that's an OPSEC thing, but here we go. We have a hash for management service. So let's go ahead and v credentials, management service, and we have a hash. So we're going to do the same exact thing once we log in again. And take advantage of the next privilege. Let's see, where were we? Pathfinding, was it Judith to C operator? This should be it. So we took advantage of the GenericWrite. Since we have all permissions to CA operator for a management service, we can get this NTLM hash. So let's do that real quick. We'll do the username. This is going to be management_service. And then we don't have the password, but we have the hashes, right? So we can do hashes and specify the NTLM. And you always do colon and then NTLM hash because it does a split. This is the regular landman hash that we just leave blank because it's not used. And then we have the new technology landman NTLM there. So that's the hash. And then the account we want to take over is CA operator. Or I say take over, but get the password too. Trying to get the TGT there. And hopefully we'll get it in just a second. And then after we do this whole exploit, I'm going to take a step back and we're going to do some more Bloodhound stuff. So that's going to be the beyond root. Normally, once I get access to like the WinRM, it could run SharpHound. I would probably do that. But since Certipy from the very beginning told us what it was vulnerable to, I kind of skip having to rerun Bloodhound with new credentials to get more information. So the beyond root is going to be more Bloodhound stuff. So hopefully that gets you excited to stick around to the end. Let's go here, CA operator, and give it this hash. Okay. So let's see. Now we can go all the way back to that Certipy command. So we can do Certipy, find, and that's going to do std out. Oh, we probably should do the new user. Where was it? CA operator. Operator. How do we do hash here? Hashes just like that. Hashes, standard out. Oh, we probably want the dash vulnerable. So the CA operator we knew had the vulnerable certificate. That's why I added this. And this will just filter out all that and tell us what we're used to seeing with this, right? There we go. Vulnerabilities, ESC9, operator CA can enroll, and the template has no security extension. So there we go. Certipy is telling us it is vulnerable. So let's go over to google.com. We'll search ESC9. I'm going to turn Dark Reader on. Let's see. Certipy, certify. Maybe certify is the right word. I'm trying to find the blog post that is good. Is this it? This is not it, I don't think. Definitely not. Hacker recipes. C9. This is talking about it, but I want to find the blog post. So I think I'm going to pause the video to find a article that I want to show off. So yeah, let's do that real quick. Okay, so how I got to it was like Googling Certipy ESC9, and then go to this Institute for Cyber Risk. And then the blog post is Certipy 4.0, this one. And it's a 20-minute read, so of course we're not going to read the entire thing, but I would highly recommend reading it because it was a really good article. If we go through this, the real key piece is how we're going to exploit it. And let's see, do we have an example? Okay. So right here's where they start explaining it. We need to have GenericWrite over an account because what we're going to do is take an account. We're going to use the probably CA operator, the one we had GenericAll over. And we're going to rewrite the UPN, that's user principal name, to be administrator. And you may think that will conflict with the default domain administrator, named administrator, but the UPN for the default domain administrator is administrator at domain. So we kind of create this duplicate scenario of the UPN of administrator. And then we're going to use the write again we're going to request a certificate on the behalf of the user. And that certificate will have the UPN of administrator. We're going to change that user's UPN away. And then when we use that certificate later, it's just going to magically work to the domain administrator. It's a little bit confusing, but hopefully it'll work with the demo we're about to show. So let's go ahead and start things off. So we're going to do a Certipy and then account update. And we're going to do the management service, hashes, and let's cat credentials. We're going to use this hash. Paste that in. We're going to take the user CA underscore operator and change their UPN. So we're going to write the UPN to be administrator. And I'm going to put DCIP at the front of this just because it's not going to change throughout all the commands. So 10, 10, 11, 41, like that. So here we have changed CA operator to be administrator. So the next thing we do is request a certificate. So we'll do Certipy request, the user CA operator, hashes. We use this hash because we're authenticating as them. And let's see, the DC IP 10, 10, 11, 41. Wait, do I do that? I did at the start, that's fine. The CA, this is going to be from the certified output. It is, let's see, Certipy. Do we have it here? What does that find? There we go. Here's the CA. Then after CA, we do template. And let's see, that template name, I think it was like certified authentication. There we go, template name. Like that. So we're going to request a certificate. Request with the host timed out. What was I talking to? 10, 10, 11, 41. Did it only work with, okay. I don't know why it timed out the first time, but if it times out, I guess try it again. So we see we got a certificate with the UPN of administrator and we saved it to this. Now I'm going to attempt to use the certificate real quick to prove it doesn't work. So we'll do Certipy auth pfx administrator DCIP 10, 10, 11, 41 domain certified.htb. Fix that. And we have that error, right? So let's go back to the command where we do the update. And we can set the UPN to anything we want, right? We could set it back to, was it CA operator at certified.htb. That's the default value. We'll set it, run it again. And then down here, we can do evil WinRM -I 10, 10, 11, 41 administrator. I think it's just -H for hashes. Let's grab this hash. Let's see, evil WinRM, capital H. And there we go. We are now certified administrator. If we set this to be like definitely not administrator, run it again, we still get the hash. But if we set this back over to administrator, we don't. And what I think is happening is we run this auth, and then Windows goes and it sees the UPN of administrator for CA operator, and then sees something mismatches and just errors out, right? When we remove the UPN administrator from this user, Windows says, there's no administrator UPN, but there's a UPN of administrator at certified.hdb. Let's go and use that one. And then that's what lets us log in. We can look at the certificate if we wanted to. So we could go, what is it? Open SSL, and then PKCS12 in, where is that file? Administrator PFX. And we want to do CL certs, no keys, out, administrator.pem. There is no import password. So now that we have the PEM certificate, we can do open SSL x509, administrator PEM, give it text, out. There we go. This is a certificate. So we can see the issuer. We can see the subject. So this certificate for operator CA. And then you scroll all the way down. I think all this stuff doesn't really matter. We see the subject alternate name, UPN administrator. And this is what is doing the authentication, right? So if we change the UPN to something else, made another certificate request, that's what it would put here, right? So this is where the exploit is coming in. We write our UPN to be administrator, change our UPN away from administrator after we request a certificate, and then we use it, and it just pretends this UPN is the administrator UPN of administrator at certified HTTP, like that, right? So yeah, that is that. Let's now go back, and I want to get more information in Bloodhound, and we're going to write a Cypher query and then call it a video. So if we did evil WinRM as the management user, so we're not going to use the administrator. We're just going to use management because that's the access we would have. Management underscore service, and this hash. They're a member of the remote operator group, I think it was. There we go. And we could do get AD user, was it administrator? And it doesn't show the UPN. The blog post says, let's see. It's not a constraint violation, meaning user principal name is a unique value. So no two users can have the same UPN. So that's what they're talking about, constraint value here. But since administrator's UPN is the domain, I thought it would show the UPN there. That's interesting. What was another user? I wonder if if UPN is null, then it does username at domain. So that's what I'm trying to do. And I think get AD user may require a username. Get AD user, let's see. It was Gregory, right? Gregory Cameron. We haven't touched this user. Nope, their UPN is the full. So I don't know exactly what's going on. Administrator at certified HTTP. Can we do... Let's see. I'm wondering if there's two administrators. There's the local and domain. No, that's not right. We do star. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. Net users. Yeah, there's only one administrator. So, okay, I digress. Sorry for that tangent if it confused you more. I don't fully understand it, but that's why we have to change the UPN away because it doesn't work otherwise. So let's go ahead and run Bloodhound here. So I'm going to go in opt, was it lowercase b, and gestures. We'll do CP, SharpHound exe here, upload SharpHound.exe. And we can get a lot more data here. So let's see. I want to log in first. I'm trying to think what we can show. The template. Let's do certified auth. There's no templates at all here. And if we go into Cypher, let's see. Let's mark a few things as owned. At this point, we have owned that server user. Let's see. Active Directory hygiene. Where's owned? Shortest path from owned objects. So I'll run this query and see what it looks like after the SharpHound data. So we see Judith, WriteOwner over this to CA operator, which is a pretty good query right off the bat, right? But this user does have CanPSRemote, and we can't see that permission. And let's do /sharphound.exe. And let's see, shortest path. I wonder if I can show this easily. Is that one? I think this should show me everything that can CanPSRemote. We'll run this after we import queries and see. So dir, let's get, or download. Administrator, upload, Bloodhound zip. And this is going to take a minute or so to run, so I'm just going to pause the video and we'll resume when it's done. Okay, it is now ingested. So if I run this query again, no results match. Refresh. Let's do match. The parameter we'll do match user. So we're going to take all the users that have CanPSRemote over to the we'll assign a variable. I don't think we have to assign a variable. We'll just do computer. Okay. And then we want to return P. There we go. So that shows. This would not show before if I didn't import the other thing. I wish I ran this query before. But I don't even think we need those variables, right? Yep. So we're going to get into a little bit of GraphQL in just a second. But what I'm doing here is assigning this variable saying match all the users who have this permission over to computer. And we see that. So what did we want to see? Let's go back over to the shortest path from owned principles. Right here. And it is so much different with the more data, right? because we have a lot more like certificate templates and things like that that the Python ingester just doesn't grab yet. But you can see how much more complex this entire graph becomes. So let's see, what we wanted to show is we can now go Judith Mater. And then let's say we knew the certificate template was it certified authentication. And let's see. Oh, that's silly. I actually don't know how to fix this one. It's treating this whole CanPSRemote to us owning the DC. So once it gets here, we're saying, oh, now we can go on the DC and own everything. I don't know how to say like match this, but take away this permission. Let's see, shortest path, coalesce owned. Okay, so we can kind of explain what's going on here. So this match, it's going to take everything here and then coalesce. So it's going to pretty much do a where. It's looking for the system tags that contain owned and returning P. So I'm going to kind of go and modify this to be what I want, right? So from that Certipy output, we knew the certified authentication template was vulnerable. This whole pathfinding thing isn't really working for us because it's treating this CanPSRemote as more high privilege than it really is, right? So let's go ahead and do a match and assign everything to S. So I use S like that's going to be subjects, right? This matches everything. I wonder if I can even like limit 100. Does this even work? Do we like have to return S? Yeah, so we can just like match everything in the database. Like that's crazy. So we're going to use the coalesce that we saw before, right? So we're going to look through all the system tags. And then if the system tag is null, we're going to just assign it to be blank. So two quotes. I'm going to look for where it contains owned because we set the user as owned, right? So let's see where. So now if we do this, it should only show us the owned things. No alternative input. Coalesce contains owned. I thought that would work. Maybe it doesn't. Oh, I don't think we did return S. Do we have to? There we go. So now it lists the two owned objects we had, right? So what we want to do now is create a another grouping. So we'll do match. I'm going to do T for template. So assign the cert template to T, where the name is equal to certified authentication at certified. I hope I typed that right. So right here, we have all the users as S, and now as T, we're matching that. If I return T, yes, we just get this one template, right? So now we want to take these two and find the shortest path. So we're going to do yet another match. I'm going to do P is equal for path, right? These are all variable names, so they don't really matter. I'm going to say all the shortest paths starting from S, and we want to go what this is a like variable length pattern. So it's saying the star means like variable length, at least one, dot is meaning as many as possible, right? So we're saying show me every path that has at least one and go to infinity, and then give me the shortest ones from S to T. And then we're going to return that path. If I click run, There we go. So that shows Judith Mater, the management, this CA operator over to this template, right? So if we take a template that doesn't exist, let's see. I'm just going to copy this to my clipboard real quick. Domain controller at certified.htb. Let's try that one, because that should not have anything. There shouldn't be a path there, right? Domain controller at certified.htb. Run it. This is going to be the shortest path. I guess we go Judith, the management to CanPSRemote. And then users is local to the computer DC. Like, these are not really great paths, but this gets us over to DC. That gets us to this template. We could also just, if we wanted to specify a user here, we could take this match S and say, let's see, S user, and then name. What is Judith Mater's name? Was it display name or just name? We'll do Sam account name. Like that. And it should be what? Judith Mater? There we go. So now this is only showing the path from Judith Mater over to that one. We want to go back to certified authentication. There we go. If we want to change it, we can go to management_service. Right. There's that path. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of information on Cypher queries. Hopefully I'll learn Cypher queries more in the next couple months, and then I can do a specific video on it. I'm still kind of just learning Cypher queries, but it is definitely beneficial to be able to run tools, find things you want, and then create your own Cypher to it instead of just relying on all the default ones they have, because things can get kind of hidden in the noise when you just do shortest paths. And also a lot of these templates kind of just depend on all the default things. You'll often miss a lot of times when there's some small customizations that you just see, but yeah, it's easier to be able to write your own. So with that being said, take care all, and I'll see you all next time.